Peace, brother Kevin.
Yes,
What's happening
sir.
with you, good brother?
Yeah. You got it, my man. You got it, brother. Yes,
All right,
sir.
all right. We up in the place to be. It's been a while. It's been a while. I don't know if anybody's here yet or is gonna be here or what have you, but nonetheless, we are here.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
sir.
we want to say thank you for those who are here or those who will be here.
Uh-huh.
As brother Kevin and I definitely wanted to bring to the public some of our very interesting conversations this brother and I have been building for, I mean, years. And I mean, let me just give him some supply today. We'll talk about that supply.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that this brother here is a very deep thinker, very heavy thinker, and really has done a lot of thought. I mean, what I mean is he's a philosophical genius in his own right. So I gave him some supply. And the reason why I'm saying is because he's also a very honest person. And at least to me, I don't know how much he'll share with you, but to me, he's very honest. And I learned a lot from this brother. And I like to say thank you, brother Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the feelings is mutual. In regards to the manner and way in which he presented something uh, in regards to myself, I would like to say this brother here is a very sharp brother, a very humble brother, and what is primarily most important to him, of course, is his family. But then again, at the same time, not in a dispute sense. In addition to that, he really wants to be an example, a model uh, for for his community and whoever that may be in association with his people. And as that is a foundational stone when it comes to the topic of discussion. What is the topic of discussion? Anyway.
Hold up, let's do this. Welcome to the Empowerment Hour. We're trying to get this thing together, family. So the topic of discussion, though, brother Kevin, is the personality profiles of toxic leadership. The subtitle is Are we, let me say that again, are we attracted to narcissistic leadership? With a question mark.
Narcissistic leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. Let's look at the word uh, psychology, if I may use that first. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that word psychology. Let's see. Let's see if I see have a definition for it. Uh, yep. I think I do
Are you
have
looking
a
for
definition.
psychology?
No, I have a particular definition for it that I would like to share.
Okay,
Let me
well,
see. Let's see
come
what
on,
it
let's.
says. Here we go. Psychology is the manner and the way you are most likely to respond and behave spiritually. Now, if that be the case, we're really dealing with what is called the law of probability.
Mm. So where did you get that one from, brother? I mean, is that your definition? Is that the definition from? Look, now Hold up. Now, I mean, a lot of people say, where the hell did that definition come from? But okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
because I think I'm thinking though, if someone says, I think someone associated with Elijah Muhammad, that vision stems from the source of one's thinking. I'm thinking that, they say what is more likely to happen. Say, for example, if you got dice and you're trying to hit the number six, I think one out of six times, I may be wrong. You got it deals with options. Um, and there's also a saying too, is that on the other hand, and it's like it's two hands on the other hands. Really, what that's telling me is that someone is minimizing your options. So if someone is minimizing your options, then more than likely you're going to be attracted to a narcissism. or a narcissist because your option has been minimized. And these are the options that you have before you. Does that make sense?
Mm. So
Because
is that where you got it from? Is that where you got your definition from?
no, that's not where I got my
Okay,
definition from.
I thought you was answering that question, but
Nah,
okay.
I'm
So
just
I'm gonna
being,
give you brother Kevin and Wally Moon Kevin gave his definition of psychology, and I'm
uh,
gonna give you my simple understanding.
uh,
You know, it's the study of the psyche. You
yeah,
know,
yes,
so ology. You know, the study of psyche mean. You know, some would say the soul, some would say the mind, some would say these different things. Um, so that would be my basic definition if I had to go there. But you're talking about narcissists
right,
already.
yeah, yeah.
So so what's the question again?
The question is, why are people attracted to narcissist leadership?
So you're saying they are. I mean, because that's the question
Oh,
of
yeah,
the broadcast.
yeah, yeah, no question. That's why I said when your options are, um, you know, minimized, and and even if you become marginalized and even ostracized, that minimizes your options. I think Dr. King said we can't allow the means by which we live to outdistance the ends for which we live. It means that we minimize the maximum rather maximizing the minimum. And we living in a society where is that if we say media, press, and television, and who controls the media, press, and television, they're giving you, you know, your options, you know, and as they give you your options, you tend to eventually you tend to gravitate to that, and that's dealing with, you know, probability. Now, if the clinical part in which you say is that if 1 out of 4 people of Black, we call it African Americans, are under what's experience some form of trauma, why would that be the case? Has their options have been minimized to a point that they gravitate to trauma? You know what I'm saying? And that a narcissist that is behind the scene will see that a person is gravitating to that trauma, and therefore the narcissist would take advantage of that particular individual, and that individual becomes so dependent on that narcissist. It's like a stronghold, which means someone has control over you and they dominate you. When something dominates you, that means you're unable to govern and control your life, that someone must come and control your life for you.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if I agree whether or not if we're attracted to not. Well, I do know what my
Yeah.
idea is that we are attracted to that which we will call a narcissistic person or a person who have narcissistic traits. And I would say 1 in 4 would be, you know, the probably on a sexual abuse level, you know, being but however, just generally, um trauma is more pervasive than that in our community. Maybe 80-90% of the people, the population, the African American community would say they have experienced some trauma within the last year. Now we know this is without COVID and all this type of thing, but what I'm suggesting is that yeah, um, when we talk about the personality profile of toxic leadership, I think it's important that we talk about that because we are attracted to, and I would suggest, as you suggest, that we are attracted to what is called a narcissist. I think you said we want to go with a definition of what that is first and foremost, so that we
Mhm.
can kind of set, you know, the framework. And is that you want me to go ahead with a definition?
Yeah, go ahead, give your definition.
You know, so I would first and foremost try to, let me see if I can pull up something here.
I can
Uh
share one real quick though, then you
go
come with
go,
yours.
go ahead.
All right, narcissism, excessive, uh, and excessive. That's a powerful word, excessive. interest. And I've learned that policy is driven by interest, and some will call it policy or police, and they call it excessive force. In or admiration of oneself and one's physical appearance, etc., etc. So is it existential, or is it external therapy that a narcissist need? A narcissist is after or his quest is to find external therapy, and is that aesthetics? Does that external therapy give a narcissist internal clarity? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. What you think?
So what's that question again?
So does as a narcissist in dealing with aesthetics, does he or she needs external therapy? And in that external therapy, he or she is trying to find internal clarity, trying to find him or herself, and trying to find a place of belonging in the world, out in this present reality, rather than finding out something inside of himself or going inside of himself.
Yeah,
so yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I think I would agree with that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say, what the classic definition of what a narcissist looks like. This is your classic narcissist. Mm-hmm. And though, let me see here real quick. A grandiose narcissist.
Right.
That's like the classic definition of what a narcissist is.
Yeah.
And so it says here, the grandiose narcissist is your classic narcissist. And though initially he or she may not present as toxic, once you scrape away the top level of charm and charisma, the toxicity and the antagonism manifest rather quickly. This subtype encompasses the arrogant, entitled, charming, grandiose, superficial, vain narcissists. These types of narcissists are the show-offs, the braggarts, the superficial, the party boys and girls. They care about appearances above all else and measure success in money, possessions, appearances, and power.
External. Let's look at that. I like that. It sounds like one's follow that which is popular.
Can you see that? I'm trying to.
Yeah, I see that very clearly. I think that's ideal. Keep it up there too. This classic definition. Move the thing back some a little bit because you put it over to the.
Okay, is it coming up?
No, it moved. It came off. But you was talking about it was making a reference to the superficial, being superficial, and I didn't say artificial, but I would equate that to being artists. But it is the need for attention. But the thing is, though, you said in the definition said the classic narcissism, though initially, it's like one stamps his or her initial, a signature piece. This is a signature piece. A classic is a signature piece. Initially, it could also, it's cool. It's cool like where's that? But it almost like it's like it is initiation. It's like it's almost like it is a breeding ground for this. He or she may not present, right, as a toxic. It's almost like in the English version of the Bible, it's like a sheep. A sheep that is dressed in wolf clothes. It is a disguise. It is a facade. It does not present as toxic. Once you scrape away, the top level of charm, and charisma, the charismatic speaking, and charismatic really means your presence, and your presence is a gift. The toxicity of antagonism, you said that the definition says that it manifests itself. And I realized before anything manifests itself, it must first have order. And it manifests itself rather quickly. It sneaks up on you like a fox, And you don't know a fox is around, but you're right in your face, And And he says that what the subtype encompass, which means it encompass you, it surrounds you. What surrounds you, encompass you? This toxicity, in the influence of this narcissist way of thinking and his or her behavior, rather quickly. It's like it attacks you. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, like, where did it come from? So now we're dealing with the impact. That means if you are aware of it in the laws of physics, if you get there before it gets to you, it will lessen from you. It will lessen you from being influenced by participating and promoting and perpetuating being a narcissist yourself. Huh? That's physics.
So yeah, I mean, I think classically, this classic example or description of who and what is narcissistic is very attractive to many in our community. Just sometimes we don't really see it, that these people are necessarily attracted to what is external. We just say they're doing their thing. You know, we don't necessarily see, we say, well, I don't feel when this other person speaks, but I can feel this person. And so people who express themselves or their characteristics kind of fall within, this grandiose narcissist trait,
Mm-hmm.
or personality rather.
Yeah.
They know how to bring people in through their attractiveness. And yes, as you're saying, they don't necessarily feel good about themselves, so they seek out what is called narcissistic supply by many of the experts. And that really means that I want to feel good. I want you to tell me good things about me. I want to feel good. I need excitement. I need you to tell me how much. But the problem is, this type of person never is fulfilled. So you see these people in our communities, and we say, stop hating on them. But a person who's keen can really pick up on it. Who's keen, who's wise, can pick up on that there is some shortcoming in this person, and that this person has a high propensity, and not really a high propensity, will hurt you, and will use you, and will abuse you.
Because it sounds like now you're getting into occults now.
These are the people who say, when you come on YouTube and they say, well, look at how many views I got. And especially when they start getting the views, before they like, the views don't matter. But when they start getting the views, they start saying, oh, that person doesn't matter. He doesn't get views. She doesn't get views. They don't matter. Or they say, I'm right. Look at how many people follow me. But, I don't really, and that's a real interesting thing, because people start repeating that. Look at how many people follow me. As if the amount of people that follow you somehow mean that that you are doing something correct. Look at Trump. Like, so many people follow him. Does that test also make him correct? But in our community, and I'm really talking about the African or Black community, African American community, whatever you want to call it, we are highly attracted to these particular individuals because we have been deprived, we have been oppressed, we want to see someone come up, because by proximity, we many times feel like we can come up, or we feel like that is an example to what I'm capable of. And there's nothing wrong with that, but let's not overlook the red flags, not look over the grandiose, superficial, vain behaviors. And I think these people can even brag and tell you how you don't have, and in fact, in our communities, why knock another man hustle? We say we have values, and then we say, Why knock another man's hustle? When he's taking advantage of people, when she's taking advantage of people, then yes, let's talk about it. Let's put it on blast, and let's talk about what is toxic and what is unhealthy. And the reason why many of us, especially men, do not call these individuals out, because sometimes we're doing the same thing, or we have the idea of doing the same thing, or we think that by we might one day get in proximity with one like this, and then we can have our own come ups. And I think when we look at it, there's another word here. It's not just charisma, toxicity. It's this other word here that said antagonism. So when we look at these grandiose individuals, there's always it typically is that us against them against us against them. They're doing this to me. They did this to me. They did that to us. Not to say things don't happen, but they use this type of they use division and divisiveness. In fact, we can say that we've been in a narcissistic society, which creates narcissistic people. And the research shows that the oppressed people, Black people, especially in people, have higher levels of narcissism. And it seems like it has something to do with the level of oppression. But when we look at other groups, because it doesn't necessarily have to do with completely one's color, because we know that's a social construct in and of itself, but we know what that social construct represents and what people who fall within that social construct have been through for the most part. So, but when we look at it all equally, white people and other people who have been oppressed equally manifest high levels of narcissism. So people who have been oppressed typically show high levels of narcissism. And this is that classic grandiose narcissism. And it says here, the other adjectives that come to mind with this subtype are slick, egotistical, full of themselves, and overly confident. But just like all narcissistic and toxic people, they lack empathy, have a tendency to lie, and engage in projection. You did it to me. When they did it to you, they'll say you did it to them. They lack empathy, have a tendency to lie, and engage in projection. And when frustrated, disappointed, or cornered, become very rageful. These are the people who are very easy to get drawn into because they are charming and successful. They often appear to be pillars of the community and do very well as public figures or leaders.
Okay, yes, good. Let's look at that now. Good stuff. It is said that African Americans are not a distinguished monolithic group, as history proves. When it comes to marriages and forming relationships, the African Americans say, well, one time they say, well, did someone in your family fight in the Civil War because of status, or was someone in your family an abolition? So we're dealing with status now. And the empathy part, is it so that the empathy of being empathetic, by being dehumanized, the empathy, being empathetic, has diminished toward one another, and or are we becoming less empathetic toward others and holding on to what has been possibly done to us in the past? So it sounds like misused anger or misused aggression. It sounds like it's misdirected or misused. And I think that one's purpose in life is to move from sympathy to empathy, I think that what we're dealing with is a spirit of apathy, a spirit of
Mm-hmm.
apathy. And what I want to deal with a definition of community, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
A community is a social group of any size whose members reside in a specific locality, share government control, or even have a common culture and historical heritage. A community, it says, has a common culture and historical heritage. Now, it sounds like something that must be placed in the proper context. Now, what do collectively do what we call the term African Americans have in common culturally and historically? Now, some argue that, okay, and I know that the people would say, well, our history didn't begin here. And I know the past is just a reference point, it's not a place of residence. So, do due to the hostility and the abuse and the mistreatment that that African Americans may have experienced in the past and still experiencing in the present, it hasn't gotten to a point that we have not gotten the proper mediation that we need by not going and seeing, getting the proper care and dealing with a clinician or a psychotherapy that we need. So therefore, the uh, the hostility that has been done on us, we internalize it and start becoming very hostile toward each other. That's a challenge. And we take out something that has been done to us by someone else, so to speak. And then if someone has not really addressed that or dealt with that, then we wind up turning on ourselves. Now, a sister Ami wrote in her book called Hegemony. She said about a group of people, I'm just using an example. She said that there was inter-conflict amongst those people, your people. He said that they had to find someone else to take that conflict out on. If not, they would take it out on themselves. So we have to learn how to resolve our problems, our conflict, with alternative solutions. And if we don't know how to deal with our conflict with alternative solutions and not getting the proper help that we need, then therefore we will depend on someone to come and lead us that way and guide us that way. And that person who's not has no moral character or no integrity, if I may use that word, about him or herself, then people will be so dependent on that, looking for a hero to come along and save them, and realize that someone that you really is about trying to save yourself rather than looking for someone else to save you. And I think in this closing, I think that someone can help you to a point, and then it's required upon you to take responsibility for your decisions and your own actions.
Yeah, I, I get that. Now, I'm wondering, because you said is it that we didn't seek out the proper help that we need?
Yeah, I said to seek, or I said to seek. I'm not saying that we didn't seek. What I'm saying is that must be that is necessary. I say mediation is necessary.
Well, I would go back to the idea that my argument would be that we seek out help. However, we're attracted to, many times, not just African Americans, but many times, especially if you have been traumatized or been through trauma, or you have attachment issues, meaning that you really haven't had a secure upbringing, starting at an early age, early childhood. You're looking for someone or somebody to become a parental figure for you because you didn't get, and many of us in America haven't gotten the amount of nurturance that is substantial for a healthy, secure individual. Now we have quite a few people that are, many people that are walking around every day looking for someone that can lead them. And then these leaders come and they show you all the problems. They show you how you're not even adequate yourself and how I'm adequate as the leader. And then I become daddy, and then I can give you all the nurturance. And sometimes there's a mommy. Many times there's a mommy, maybe the daddy's first lady, or what have you. And then we do this for business. We take advantage of people and exploit people's traumas. In fact, that person, if we had to look at it, yes, that the person who exhibits these narcissistic tendencies many times, I'm going to not say many times, I'm going to say every time, they have also had an insecure upbringing, which they learn or learn from, and also develop these type of defenses, which mean that I'm very, very afraid of rejection. I'm very, very afraid of abandonment. I need love that I didn't get from my mother. I need love that I didn't get from my father. I need this love, and I'm looking for it in people. So people become instruments of pleasure for me.
Mm.
So now the people who are looking for this daddy figure are also looking, they've bought into the charisma. They bought into, this person has the answers. They bought into the fantasy, because when we look at someone who's highly narcissistic, they're very attractive. And we only discuss the textbook narcissists thus far. They're very attractive, however. So because they have fantasies outside of this world, the world becomes a stage. It becomes the theater for them to create their place of pleasure. It's their playground. And the people who are following them many times do not know that they are being utilized for that person's outside gratification, because inside they feel very low and have low self-esteem. And I'm not saying that to really come at that person, because honestly, with empathy from my own self, I understand and hurt for that person. And I also hurt for the people that are being abused, because they sometimes look over the red flag, many times look over the red flags, thinking that this person will change, and or because the dream is so great, let's look past this. Let's act like this didn't exist. And people, especially who fall within this personality, characteristical traits or what have you, they're very witty many times, and they can make you feel like questioning them that you're the problem. So it's very witty. They're very witty, very smart, very astute. And they really many times lack a certain level of empathy, because nobody had empathy for them. Who had empathy for me? So when I cry, when I'm hurt, many times the only person I can cry for, many times the person that I'm concerned about is me. That little boy, that little girl that nobody cared for.
That's
And that's going to take a lot of work.
That's serious there, man. I was pretty stunned by that. Just the manner and way of you express that. As fantasy, man, is something else, man. And then you use the word pleasure. I mean, I look at this plane of existence as something that is pleasurable, but we must be responsible with the pleasure. And I think of a sadist. A sadist is one who like to inflict, harm and injury, take pleasure in inflicting harm and injury on an individual, even though some equates it to sexually. Um, a fantasy is in dealing with emotional suppression is that's an ego mechanism, defense mechanism. It says that we fantasize when we can do nothing about a problem. So what we're dealing with also associated with being attracted to narcissism is really we're dealing with problem solving skills. You know what I'm saying? And I know recently I feel kind of handicapped, if I may use that word, is that because I wasn't able to do anything about a particular thing, but I uh, I went on and did it. I did something, and I felt free. It was liberating that I just went on and did it. Because if you feel as though you can't do anything about it, and you start to fantasize uh, about certain things, um, it will impair your judgment. It will impair your judgment. So then we're dealing with an impaired judgment as well. But being able to, we fantasize when we can't do nothing about the problem that we encounter, or we want, or when we want to satisfy a strong need, and that is a strong urge, a strong desire, and makes us to become very succumb to impulse and become very compulsive, where there is it leads to a lack of a discipline in doing so. Uh, when we fantasize because it helps create an alternative reality for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's a problem because when you have an alternative reality, that means that you you deal with emotional reasoning, and that's a distorted thought. In emotional reasoning, when you deal with things in unrealistic terms, you know what I'm saying? You become unrealistic, and when you deal with things unrealistic, you're dealing with one's cognitive ability. You know, so therefore, cognitive therapy is needed. So the challenge is, uh, for me, what I realized that people are dealing with feelings of inadequacy, first of all, and they wondering if I am good enough, and certainly you are good enough. And we're also dealing with social comparison too, as well, and that seems to be a problem and a challenge as well. Is when we compare and measure our success based upon the material gains that we have had. And I've come to realize that success is determined, is measured by when the quality exceeds the quantity. Because remember, narcissism is associated with something that you do excessively. You know what I'm saying? The excessive need for attention because of the abandonment and the attention that you did not receive at an early age, and you feel as though you have been neglected. For example, if one has went to prison, let's use that for an example, and he or she may have not getting the proper guidance that he or she needs, he or she could be missing out on something, and you can't compensate or make up for something that is already gone. You know what I'm saying? And when you try to do that, you go about um, obtaining a position or a title, and even in your money, and look at the celebrities as well, if I may use that for example, displaying their greatness to hide one's inner weakness. That's narcissism. That is a personality disorder in which a person, like, there is no such thing as a Superman, but that's a person that exaggerates his or her own self importance, and that's how they try to compensate for it.
Yeah, I think it's important, just to kind of wrap this up. And we just to let the family know that we are, like, subscribe, share, but also that we're just going to get started. This topic is going to be ongoing because we see how it's hurting our community and how we're attracted to certain levels and certain types of individuals that will hurt us. And the saying that hurt people is real. I'm not even a cliche guy. But what I want to do is share my screen again. And I want to share it and talk about a different type of narcissist. We're going to go through more of these, but I want to share my screen to talk about what has been identified as a communal narcissist. Can you see my screen, Brother Kevin?
Very well. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so there's various types of narcissists, right? But I just think I want to talk about this communal narcissist and wrap it up. So a communal narcissist, or let's say communal narcissists, are motivated by the same needs as other narcissists, such as the grandiose narcissists that we just spoke about. But they meet these needs through communal means, engaging in activities that would be viewed well by the world or ostensibly which ostensibly help others. In essence, their research suggests that a communal narcissist may want to be viewed as a living saint, which reflects a grandiose self-assessment and need for public reverence and awe. Important to note that there are people that do put other issues first. So we want to make sure there are people out here that put others first and other issues first, but they're in our community, in communities. There are people that play and get their narcissistic supply, their gratification through these acts, and then the accolades that come with them. Communal narcissists are motivated by validation, and if others do not take notice to their goodness, then the communal narcissist can get a bit prickly, frustrated, and even angry. In addition, they may give up dozens, if not hundreds, of hours to plan a charitable event, but become a mini tyrant or many tyrants when doing so, making it feel more like a bad job for the other well-intentioned volunteers. Communal narcissists may seem like they care very much about people facing challenges. I'm going to say in our community, not just around the world, but because, some people can say, I give a F about other people. I just care about my community. Or I care about people all around the world. So this is an example. And be the first to jump on a flight to dig a well to help hurricane victims, or be the first to go outside and start saying, I'm going to do this for the community, or the first to say, I'm going to give out some food, or the first to say, I'm going to do this and do that. I want to be very careful because, people do things and they might think you're talking about them. And I don't want that to be, the misconception here. And again, going back, there are people. Important to note that there are people that do put other issues first. So I just want to make that clear again. Communal narcissists may seem like they care very much about people facing challenges. Now, let's go forward. But in their own life, they can have all of the usual narcissistic relationship patterns, including detachment, lack of empathy, entitlement, and anger. This juxtaposition can be very confusing for partners, family, and friends who see these people being viewed by the world as the great givers. Yet at home, they are anything but. Communal narcissists do value their place in the community, whether it is their town, their children's school, or their place of worship. And they derive tremendous validation from it. What they do not do well is one-on-one relationships. Communal narcissists may be the what did I say? Dictatorial PTA president, the donor who gives and expects names on buildings and lots of press and publicity, as well as lots of fawning by the entities that benefit from the large gaze. I don't know if that's a. Do you know that word, Kevin? The dog rescuer who chronically abuses a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or social media savvy global savior who also takes the time to post with hashtags about his or her goals, tan, and brand of sneakers, all while cleaning plastic from the ocean. So, I mean, so basically, oh, I see here. So nonetheless, I think it's very important that we conceptualize this. This person could be the one who say, I give, I do, and they show you what they've done. They don't miss the opportunity to turn their camera on, or find a way to get before the news, or take a selfie, or do whatever they have to do to get praise for what they do. Now, I'm not saying that happens with just because some people do it sometimes, but it happens, and when they do it all the time. They can hardly do it when the camera's not on. When people's family life is not matching up with their outward life, there's an issue. When they're at home, is very, very private. Very, you look at the mates, you look at the partners, you look at the children, and sometimes they're not even around. When you look and you see that, and when you just catch them on the side and you hear them speak in ways that didn't sound like you heard them speak when they were before the people. See, these are red flags that we overlook. We overlook the red flags as if they don't exist, but they do exist. But we, especially in our community, what happens is we don't want to be the one that says, why are you trying to pull a brother? Somebody will say, if you say, well, look at what that person's doing, you say, why are you trying to bring a black man down? All you did was actually just make a critique or a statement. Well, maybe he could have did that different. No, why are you trying to come for the black man? Nobody's above critique. And guess what? Just because you critique don't mean you're right. So, okay, everybody has an opinion. Yes, but the reality is, this is how we allow this stuff to fester in our community and allow people to continuously abuse us and traumatize us, is passed down generationally because we look past the red flags.
Yes, the term largesse, it has to do with generosity or bestowing money or gifts upon others.
Say that again.
Money or gifts of generosity that is bestowed on people. And that seemed to be the motivating factor. People do things to impress rather than to express. You know what I'm saying? And yes, that's a challenge. So I think that was pretty well expressed when it comes to the communal narcissist. But it seems so the communal narcissist seemed to be so intentional with his or her sophistication of the misuse and abuse of others. You used earlier about the word following. People look for followers, but following is an exemplary act. It is an example that you set. And it's not that you're looking for people to follow you, but you just set the example. And you use another key word, a word that I thought was key in there was seeking validation. For the most part, most, what we call, and I say most leaders, but leaders really, man, they don't seek that, and they really walk alone. They some lonely, lonely people, man. But that's a challenge in itself. I said this in this wise. I remember personally when I was standing before people, sharing something on a daily basis, and then all of a sudden that wasn't there no more, because we're dealing with adulation. It's like I know I deviated some, but and I'm still challenged by it. But an athlete who listened for the crowd, the roar, and it was something interesting doing the what they call the athletic football thing when this what they call this pandemic. Yeah. That when there was no one around to cheer, will you still have the same passion, the same drive, the same motivation, the same commitment, the same dedication, the same determination that you had when you had the crowd behind you, urging you, pushing you on?
Yes, sir.
I would beg to differ that you won't have it, because that's what many, for lack of words, narcissists, they live for that.
That's that supply.
It says in this business world, supply and demand. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So yes, that's pretty good there. I like that. I really like
It
that.
also spoke to Brother Kevin that communal narcissists are typically, they're grandiose narcissists. It's just that they found a means of getting it communally. And most communal narcissists, after their gig is up, some point just converts it straight out, just grandiose narcissists.
Yeah.
And it also, I've done some research where it talks about how these are often also those who create cult followings. You know, I have the special sauce. We have the special equation. We have the only way that's going to get us to liberation, and everybody else does. And we can do this in spiritual type of cults. We see this in more even some of our Black liberation organizations. We see this in just Christian or Muslim. I'm saying it's everywhere. I'm not saying it's every organization or every Christian, every Jew, every Black liberation or organization or every Afrocentrist, but it is pervasive. It is ubiquitous. It is very prevalent.
Because
and people and narcissists typically find their way to the top of organizations.
Yeah. Because I'll go give a definition of something called spiritual narcissism. It is the unconscious use of spiritual practice, experience, and insight to increase rather than to decrease self-importance.
Say that again.
Spiritual narcissism is the unconscious use of spiritual practice, experience, and insight to increase rather than decrease self-importance.
Yes, sir. Because I have the medicine. I have the potion. I have the prayer. God told me. I mean, I'm not saying it's some of that don't exist.
Oh no, you own it, because that's a true build there. Because that's why I always say, when people say, "Well, God told me to do this, God told me to," I say, "Oh, bro. But what do me and you say?" Then I says, for me, leadership is coordination, and the authority which I speak from is resiliency, because biologically, all those sperm cells and all of us who are play on existing made it. That's goddamn resiliency. So that's the authority in which I speak from.
Well, I didn't mean to get you upset and everything over there.
Oh,
brother.
yeah, you did just that time. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I mean, I mean, there's people out here that really mean well,
Yeah.
but we are really attracted to glitz and glamour and the dance. And some people will say this is what spirituality is. If you know, and we are really connected to that what allows us to feel good.
Yes, sir.
The reality is when you're in a narcissistic relationship, people who have that skill set that narcissists have, they come into your life and make you feel like no one has made you feel before.
Mm.
They know how. That's called the love bombing phase. You know, I don't care when you go into the cult, when you go to when you meet that man or that woman for the first time, it was like God sent. It was like ecstasy. And because we are feeling people, we're being manipulated many times. And the reality is many times that person who has those characteristics, they know they don't have what we call emotional empathy. Like they don't really care. You are just dispendable. You're dispensable. You're disposable. You're just a number. But they do understand from a cognitive level how you work, how we work.
Mm.
They understand how to make you feel good, then bad, so bad that you need me because you're nothing.
Mm.
And then I'm your daddy and I'm your mommy. So I have the answer. And what I'm going to say, Brother Kevin, with that, you know, we just getting started, brothers and sisters. Tune in, like, share. We're going to keep it coming. We're going to pop in here. Brother Kevin, what's the closing words for the day, brother?
Yeah. There is a pledge that we can all contribute to. There is no family without individual. The value of family and individual concerns. There is no community without family. The value, community concerns. There is no country without community. The value of country concerns. There is no environment without the spiritual wisdom of discipline that it brings. The value of environmental concerns. There is no joy without the happiness that it brings. The value of joy and happiness concerns. And family, there will be no me without you. The value of me and you concerns.
All right, family. Thanks for tuning in. We want to say like, share, subscribe. Until next time, peace and power. Well, if I can get off of here, family, you know, then I'll say peace and power again. But Brother Kevin, I'm still trying to get out of here. All righty. Peace and power, family. Brother Kev?